Welcome back to another episode of Boxing Talk with Brian Mendoza. Today's topics, Erik Robles, Ramon Cardenas, and Terence Crawford. He's retiring. Wow, crazy. Yeah. Well, let's start off with Erik Robles, Ramon Cardenas. Wow, what an amazing fight. I'll tell you, ProBox, they put on some good shows. It was an action-packed. We're just going to cover this fight today, but I wish we had time to cover them all because they were all amazing fights. It's a great card, but that's what ProBox does, right? Mm-hmm. They put on 50-50 cards, exactly. Great entertainment. So anyways, let's go ahead and start off with Cardenas. Third round, dropped him in the third, in the fifth, drops him in the fifth. Yeah. Crazy knockouts.
Yeah, down and out, good knockdowns, and they were both with the right hand. Everybody, when they fight Cardenas, they think that, okay, we just got to worry about that left hook, but he actually showed he's got power in both hands. And Algeria was commentating on that fight, and he actually called it a little bit just before that I think the knockdown in the third, where he said, be careful, this guy's got power in both hands. And right after that, Cardenas put him down with the right hand. That was actually stepping back, so it usually takes away some of your power, but he showed, that he can still make the space and get the space he needs to land that shot, and he threw some missiles.
Well, he's a great counter puncher in general, right? One of his key moves. Overall, what do you think led to that? Was it the early rounds assault to the body?
Exactly. I think that sets it up. That body work makes your opponent kind of bring their hands down, makes them fatigue a little bit. Sometimes if your opponent has a great chin, you work that body, slow them down there, and then that softens them up top where you can where their chin is a little more vulnerable and they won't recover from shots as well. So I think Cardenas, had a great game plan. They went in there and he worked the body, chipped away at him, and that led to the knockdown in the third, and then that knockdown in the fifth was just brutal.
So he improves his record to 27-2. This was his fight following Inoue back in May, right? I mean, how would you compare how he fought Inoue with how he fought Robles?
I think you see the experience kicking in. He's getting sharper each time out. So he could have taken that Inoue fight as just, I didn't make it, at a certain level or something. But no, he took it as motivation, which a loss can always make or break you. And he took it in the positive way. And I saw him fight a lot sharper. And now he wasn't just looking for that left hook. He's using that right hand more. So I think that experience was meant a lot to him, and he was able to grow from that.
So with Inoue back in May, I mean, it was a tough loss, right? Let's just touch on that fight for a second. Mm-hmm. What could he have done different? I mean, that was candidate of fight of the year.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, nobody expected that type of performance from him.
Exactly. Yeah. So he might not have gotten the win, but he rose to the occasion. He still had one of his best performances. And obviously, there's always changes in the game plan you can make. Is someone that's very difficult to game plan for. So there's a lot of little changes, but, I think he's making those changes now. I think he's learning from that fight, and that's why we're seeing the growth, seeing him develop that right hand a little more and sit on those kind of counters instead of just looking for the left hook, because a guy like a guy's at the top level, you cannot just look for one shot.
How important is it having Manny Robles in his corner, right? Great trainer, just amazing coach. How important is that for him? And going forward, how is it important for him to continue to have Manny in his corner?
I think that's great. If they're working together, it's sometimes you need to, get to that next level. You don't maybe necessarily need a new trainer, but maybe just bring someone extra on the team. Just get a fresh pair of eyes. I know he's still working with his team from back home in San Antonio, so he still has his original team, and if he's adding people with him like that, it just gets better. It's good that your team, sometimes they can lock you down and be like, no, they just want to be selfish. They want all the credit, for making you, but credit to his team, for being like, okay, let's get a fresh pair of eyes, kind of a new mindset, and bring him in, and you see the growth. So everybody wins.
What's next for him? What is next for him?
He's working his way back to the top, and I think he did a great way to end out 2025.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I think people are already doing the nominations for Knockout of the Year and all this stuff, but that shows until the year is over, you cannot close those that voting yet, because he just definitely put himself in the list, and I think he's pretty high up there. So great way to close out the year, but now he gets to start 2026, aiming for bigger and better names, opportunities and stuff. So we'll see. I'm excited to see him get back in the ring.
Well, if you haven't watched it, you're going to definitely want to go on to ProBox TV and watch it. It took place again the 18th, Friday. Yeah, what a great show.
Absolutely.
Terence Crawford. Wow, can't believe that. So he announced earlier this week that he's retiring. I mean, is he retiring?
Maybe for now. It's there's a lot of money being left on the table, and he does have the how can I say it? He there's nothing he needs to prove. He's made history, literal history, jumping up those weight divisions, and
42-0.
exactly,
Right.
yeah, undisputed in several weight classes. I think he's the most with the 4 division era. So he's got nothing left to prove, but outside of that, the money that he can still make, that he's finally tapped into, because his whole career he wasn't getting enough credit. There was the limelight wasn't on him as much, even though he had the talent, he had the skills, everything. Like, his fights were exciting, but he just didn't have that backing, and now he's finally got that backing. So I feel like that's not the best
And now
time.
he's retiring.
Exactly, yeah. So I feel like even though he's got money, he's set and everything, I still think once they keep adding zeros to those paychecks, I think someone's going to be able to get him back.
Yeah, no doubt. How I mean, when he announced that, I was shocked. I mean, I was shocked. I think the world was shocked. His age, he's 38. I mean, how much does that play into a fighter making that that decision to retire?
Yeah, it depends on a lot of your lifestyle. He's not a guy that parties and goes crazy or blows up in between fights. So he's one of the guys that can have a longer lasting career. That's why even at 38, he's making history. So I don't think the age will affect him as much, even though he's been boxing his whole life. He's been through all the ups and downs that boxing has, but besides losing, of course. But I think the age isn't as much of a factor as maybe, I don't know if he's got as much love for it to just be taking fights just for the money, especially since he's set. He needs new goals to reach for, and at the level he's at, that's hard to do. So it's all about finding the right motivation and the right goals to keep going. But I think the way he takes care of himself in and out of the ring is beneficial for his longevity.
Andre Ward, Floyd Mayweather, right? Everybody wants to retire with an O, right? How important is that for a fighter to end his career undefeated?
Very. And there's a lot of mixed emotions on that when people do that, because sometimes they're like, oh, well, like, you didn't fight so and so. There's always gonna be someone that they say that you didn't fight or you avoided, but like in Crawford's case, there's guys coming up that the fans want to see him fight, but it's still there's no, I think, higher goal unless he keeps moving up in weight or something like that. But it's just it's everybody's goal at the end of the day to be able to retire undefeated. That's that perfect movie story where you just just untouchable and just walk through it and end up undefeated. But it's hey, when you're done, you're done. And if it happens to be when you're undefeated, making history.
Me personally, I don't think he's going to retire. I mean, how many fighters go into retirement, come right back out for that $50-100 million right check? I mean, who would you wanted to see him fight if he wasn't going to retire? Like, what was that dream fight we were all waiting for before he announced this?
I mean, I know a lot of people were talking about the Boots fight, but I know Boots is still like that. He's one of the guys that is still working up, kind of building his own name. He doesn't have as many like marquee names on his resume yet. So, but that's what I'm saying. There's guys like that, or he could have came back down technically to 160, tried to go undisputed there, maybe unify some titles, get some titles. I think that's very possible for him. Fight guys like Janibek or Lara.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, Carlos Adames. So there's a lot of excitement, but I think that's part of the reason why he says he wants to retire, because I don't think the names, the weight behind those names is what piques his interest anymore. But that's why it has to be like, does he want just more accolades as far as the titles and all that stuff? So I don't know if I have a specific name I want to see him in there against. It's just I love his style, the way he fights and everything. So as a fan, I just want to see him fight with whoever, any other champions. But it all depends on what really calls him.
Well, was there a moment that you can recall, your best, your favorite Terence Crawford moment, and let's say prior to Canelo, right? I mean, what was it? What fights stood out that really stood out for you?
Yeah, with Crawford, there was some
maybe Errol Spence.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. That one was he was basically walking on water, and obviously there's always like an asterisk on certain fights like that one. Like they say it was Spence after the accident and this and that. But I still think regardless, it was a phenomenal performance, And you saw Spence in there with Danny Garcia, and he was still able to look
True.
good.
Yeah.
So, some people don't give him full credit, but I think it was a phenomenal performance regardless. And there's I'm just forgetting the guy's name right now, but when he went undisputed, I believe it was at 35 or 40. It was just a step back body shot knockout that was just the way he creates space and land those shots in the middle of the fire when the guy was just swinging for the fence, throwing those bombs. So a lot of those moments, it's just more like the style and the way he does it, the way he creates space, and where his ring generalship is just always fun to watch.
Yeah. Wow. It's too bad that we're not going to see him back in the ring, but I think I'm talking prematurely. I think we're going to see him back. In the ring.
I agree on that one. I definitely think with the money on the table, we're going to see him back.
Yeah. Hey, Brian, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. Always great hanging out with you and talking. You can follow us at all the social media platforms on Boxing VIP Network. You can also listen to us on Apple Podcast and Spotify. Thank you.
Thank you.